Hi, welcome to Bright Hope Creations. I'm Kara, and today we're going on a picnic with this bear family. And so we're using Snow Much Fun, Den Sweet Den, Over the Mountain Borders, Crazy Antics, Happy Trails, Open Me, Village Shops, Mermaid for You, Totally Awesome, and the Meadow Backdrop Landscape. I'm using jet black ink. It's Copic friendly, and we'll be using that today. Here are the picnic items from Crazy Antics, and now for the bear family, and then all the other little scene builders to go around, and then the mountain and one of the hills. And I'm die cutting the over the mountain borders early so I can figure out my scene, and I'll keep some length at the bottom to decide how tall things are going to be. I'm using the meadow backdrop as the foreground so that my bears are really right up front. So now it's time to start with some Copic coloring, and I'm starting on this camper. I don't know, but I'm kind of making it retro, I think, a little bit with the white and red, and then it'll have some aqua curtains, and this is going to be in the background. And one thing I like is that the perspective really works with this because the bears are bigger and this camper is smaller, so it really fits well for the background scene. I'm just shading the different areas, just trying to make it look rounded, and I'm using some cool grays and R24, 27, and a 39 to do that. Finish blending that out, and then I'm using a warm gray. This is a W6 to bring some shadow inside the camper. It's daytime, so it's dark inside. There are no lights on. Put on some curtains and color the front door. So this is a BG 11 and 13 to do that. This reminds me of the camper we had growing up. It was very tiny. My parents slept on the table that folded down, and then my brother and I slept above in a little bunk. And it was much to the chagrin of my father because he was a Boy Scout executive, and tent camping in the winter is just fine with him. But I don't think my mom would go camping if we didn't have this little camper. So I decided the inside could be a little darker now that the curtains were colored, and so shaded that in with the W8 and came back in with the W6. I colored up a red and white checkered picnic blanket, and we're on to the bears. Now these bears are all colored very similarly, and I just used E40s for them, and I found my shadows with an E42 and then darkening that up with an E44, and then I'll blend that all into the body. So I'm going to show you this little bear to show you how I colored everything, and I'll show you the top part of that bear next to him. Now the bear, yes, he's missing his body, but as you can see underneath there is a body, and I will put those two together, which will work out perfectly for our scene. So to blend this little guy, I used the E44 as the darkest, and then an E43 and E42 to blend him out, with a little bit of E40 as the highlight, and now coming in with that E47 just in the darkest shadow areas to darken him up. And I'll still blend that out a bit with the E44 and then on and on into the body. I'm going to keep his muzzle a little bit lighter, but he's just so cute. I love this guy. Well, now let's move on to, I guess I'm going to call him the Papa Bear here. I'm using those E40s again, E42 to find my shadows, and I put a little bit by his eyes so that they look a bit more recessed from his snout. And I'm going to darken all those areas that I decided were the shadows with the E44. So I start with that lighter color so that if I'm not happy with where I put my shadows, I really haven't messed anything up because I'm using a light color. All right, blending that in with the E43, and then I'll blend that on in with the E42 and a little bit of E40 again. A nice thing about Copic markers is they can keep layering, so I might blend away my shadows, but then I can bring in some more and keep layering. So I came in with the E47 into the darkest sections, just like I did with the baby bear, and I'm going to blend that out then. But I don't blend out as much the second time around. I don't need to. It's already kind of it was blended already. So the second time around is a little simpler. It's kind of like putting a second coat of paint on the wall. You just don't have to worry about the coverage as much. All right, so once I've got this guy done, through the magic of video, all the bears got colored. So we can go on to other things. This is the picnic basket that they found. It started with an E23 to get those shadows in there, and I want this to kind of be a yellow brown, so Y23 in those shadows as well. And then I decided I could go darker than that, so I'm bringing out the Y26 and bringing that into those shadows. So it's going to be kind of a, oh gosh, a honey oak color, I guess. My lightest is the Y21, but it's looking a bit yellow here. And so I want to dull that down, bring back in the browns. So this is the E23, and then I'm going to cover the whole thing with an E21. So it's now more of a yellow brown. And one of the reasons I didn't just want a brown, but to put some color into it was because it's going to be in front of a bear. And so brown on brown, I thought it would get lost. Well, here are the food items that are in that picnic basket. Now, they don't all get on the card, but they're either still in the basket or they ate them already. That's what we're going to say. But here's our chip bag, and just a little shine on that white part with the blue, and onto the soda can. And now that everything is colored, I'm going to cut them out with the coordinating dies. I'm going to wait on that sign because I'm not sure what color I want it yet. I want to put it in the scene to see what it needs there. When I'm snipping dies apart, I clip closest to the outer die because it's easier to get the metal stems off the outside of a die rather than the inside. All right, well, here's the camper and all the little bits and pieces. I've got the bears, and I will die cut just everything. And here they are. Now you can see how these two pieces of the bear work together. That die cuts out his little paws, and so he can be carrying something or picking something up as he is with our basket. Now that basket's as far down as his feet, but I can extend him a little, so he's a taller bear. I'm going to cut out Mama Bear here so that her little arms can hold something too, and she's going to hold on to that chip bag. That's her thing. She's a salty girl. So she wants her chips. All right, I don't want the frame around this border because I want to ink blend it, and I just don't want green up at the top. So I snip that off as though it's two little pieces of grass there, and it's all set to start ink blending. I'm using bundled sage and a life-changing blender brush. I'm blending that all around, and then I'm going to use some mowed lawn to brighten up the front of it, and also where the die cut is. I want to add a little paper in there as a mask so I can make the back of the hill look a little darker than the front. All right, that gives us some layering there. And now I'm using that bundled sage again, and I'm just going to ink this whole thing up. It's going to be behind the meadow, and I don't mind that I'm getting that ink on the trees. And now for the mountains as well, it's going to be grassy until we get to the mountains. And Alcohol markers don't react with the distress ink, the regular distress ink, so I can color right over where I had some ink on there, but I'm putting in some shadow on those mountain caps and then coloring in my mountains, and I'm using the BV20s for this. Uh, this is a real gray, purpley blue color. I think it's just, gosh, to me it's grayer than anything. And so it's a nice change from some of the other grays, the cool warms or the other ones. So just getting in some shadow with the BV23 and add a little texture to those mountains, and then using the BV25 to add in some darker shadows now and a little bit of darkness, especially on the mountains in the back, so that they look like they're a little further away. Color up these pine trees on the hill slope, and so E40s, so E44 and 47 for the trunks, and then coming in with the G21, I'm going to color. First I thought I would just shade them, and then I realized no, I want them all to be darker than that grass, so colored them all with the G21 and now shading them with the G24. So I'm going under those lines because I feel like those would be the shadows for those trees. Now that I have everything together in green, I want to give it some sky, and so I'm going to ink blend with tumbled glass, and I don't have to do much up there because there's not much room for the sky, but that panel is the size of my note card. It's going to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So as I position everything on here, I know how far down I can go. So just using my tape runner, putting on those mountains, and I'm just figuring out where I want that hill. And here's the camper. So could it be on this hill? Well, not really, because perspective-wise, it would be too big. But if it's on the second hill, well, it's perfect because it's in front of those trees. So I'm putting the hill up a little higher so that I have room for the rest of my scene because of where that camper is going to sit. For this meadow, I want to bring this layer up with some foam tape, and I want to make sure that I can still open up the center part of that grass in case I want to tuck something in there. Now I can finish the background, the back scene. So I want it to look more like a campsite. So I'm taking the bench and bicycle from Village Shops and just stamping them right directly on my panel here, and then coloring those with some Copic markers. And nice thing with green grass is the brown shows up brown, which is good. And then I want to put a little bike there because these campers are, they bike around as well. They brought their bikes. And then this will be a blue bike because with green, the blue will show up as well. It's not going to clash with it. All right, put that camper on there, just positioning it, and then adhere the meadow backdrop to the bottom of the panel. And so our campground, our campsite, you don't see a car there because the family went exploring in those mountains. And so while they were away, the bears found their picnic basket, and that's what they're going to enjoy in the front of the scene. I am tucking in the log and putting a rock just to kind of create more of the scene in front, spreading out that picnic blanket. And at this point, I'm fine with the bear being a little lower there, and so I didn't put the feet on. I'm tucking in a sandwich and a soda in there so that little bear can be grabbing for the sandwich. And then with this little bear, I want to clip his little paw away from his body just a little bit so that he can hold on to things. And he tried the popsicle, but I guess he's interested in that wedge of cheese. And as a Packer fan, I'm not so sure I like a bear holding a wedge of cheese. But anyway, now I'm deciding where that sign's going to go and what to put on that sign. And meanwhile, while I'm deciding that, I'm just going to glue everything down. So I was thinking it could say, "Don't feed the bears," and then the bears could have an X over the don't. But really, because my scene is so full, that's where I need to put my main sentiment. And I think Yogi Bear would be so proud of this family for finding this picnic basket and actually getting to eat something out of it. So just gluing on the last of the family here, and then I can take my tape runner and adhere it to my note card. Now, the way I like to adhere this is upside down so that if I needed to clip anything off of this note card, it would be on the bottom. All right, life's a picnic with you, and that comes from Crazy Antics. So that's kind of perfect for our scene here. And I'm just going to make this white because I think that that would not detract from the rest of the scene, but I'm still going to make it look like it's painted wood, so wood boards, just a little bit with cool grays. So C1 and 2, and then blend it in with the C0. I'm keeping it pretty subtle because I want the sentiment really to show. All right, that's where it's going to sit, and I'm putting it on some foam tape so that it's at the same height as the front of the panel. And now I changed my mind with the Papa Bear. I decided he would look better if he was a little taller. I think for the front part of the scene, it would kind of give a nice rounded look from the baby bear up to the Papa Bear and then down to the Mama Bear. And so I decided to put him on those legs and clip off a little bit of the meadow because I didn't want to put flowers on there to detract from this already busy scene. Position that guy where I think he should go. And now this card is all done. I hope you enjoyed it today, and maybe it inspired you to create a layered scene. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.